This is ITV1. The following programme contains flash photography as we're on the red carpet for the premiere of Die Another Day. And yes, Mr. Bond, I have been expecting you.
Welcome to the Albert Hall in London for a very special occasion. It's the royal premiere of the 20th James Bond film, Die Another Day. As Her Majesty the Queen celebrates her Golden Jubilee, 007 The Master Spy celebrates his Ruby anniversary. That's 40 years on the silver screen. Tonight, I've been given privileged access to the man who plays James Bond and has done for the past 7 years, Pierce Brosnan. Also coming up on the show, John Cleese with his top Bond moments, and the Bond girls reveal all, plus the music, the gadgets and the cars that all make Bond Bond. In a little while, the Queen and Prince Philip will be taking their seats alongside 700 stars and VIPs right here. First of all, let's find out a little bit more about the movie that they've come to see, and the biggest star of them all tonight, Pierce Brosnan. So we meet for the first time, Mr. Bond. Yeah. I've got some complaints from your cast members, Halle Berry and Rick Yoon being just two of them. You're too fast and you're too strong. So what are you eating?
My shreddies.
Tell me about being on the set now. You're very much in the role of Bond. Is Die Another Day the ultimate Bond movie, do you think?
I think it's a very good movie. I think it's probably one of the best ones that I've done. I think it continues where GoldenEye left off. And Martin Campbell did a splendid job, you know, making that work. And Lee Tamahori wanted to take the baton from him and make it even bigger and better. So, yeah, I think it's pretty sharp.
Would you say you're pretty hands-on on set now? I mean, I know you get involved in script development and where Bond's going.
Yeah, the writers and I have a good relationship. I mean, after the movies, we sit and we talk, and they listen to my kind of intentions, ramblings of where I want to go, what I'd like to do with it, how do you make it bigger and more surprising. And from it comes something like, you know, Die Another Day, where he gets captured at the beginning of the film. He gets stripped of his identity. He becomes a renegade.
Bond the Renegade follows a tip-off about the agent who betrayed him. He flies to Cuba, where he hooks up with Jinx and discovers information that makes M realise her best man is no traitor to Britain.
Well, it seems you've become useful again.
M wants Bond to uncover the truth about Gustav Graves, a millionaire entrepreneur who's dropped into Britain from nowhere. Bond follows him back to his base in Iceland and witnesses the launch of Icarus, a solar energy device funded by Graves. Bond fears it's to be used for sinister purposes. Now, John Cleese says that you hate technology as much as he does. Is that right?
I loathe it. Loathe it.
Well, then you'll love the bit in the film that made me laugh. You've got all of these gadgets. You've got this amazing car and the watch and the ring. And there's a scene where you and Halle Berry are trying to cut your way through a fence to an airbase, and you use secateurs.
You got that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you pop that little one in there?
I got that on the note. Excuse me, to make it my secateurs out.
A bit of gardening.
You know, instead of, you know, the watch, zoop. Anyway, there you go. Well, what can I say?
I think it's good. Keep dropping those things in.
Yeah.
Now, I've been asking some of the other cast members. It's a thought through scene in lots of the Bond movies where you have to grab anything that's at hand to kill your opponent. Now, imagine, if you will, for 1 second, that you're in a very domestic environment and the only thing to hand to kill your opponent is a rubber duck. How would you kill him or her?
With a rubber duck?
With a rubber duck.
I think I'd get their bottom jaw and I'd shove it down their throat and gag them with a ducky. Doesn't squeak, though.
It doesn't
You've
squeak.
got to have a squeaky ducky.
Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't squeak.
Nah, it's not good.
Getting ready for a right royal premiere like this is a mammoth task. The police shut off the area at lunchtime today. The ice palace that features in Die Another Day has been a major inspiration for the planners, as they've imported 54 giant icicles from Germany. They've unravelled 400 metres of red carpet. That's more carpet than you get at the Oscars. There are 1,000 metres of electrical cabling to feed all the television cameras that will be here later, and 150 floodlights, and 3 giant screens that have been erected so that the public can hear and see all the action when the stars arrive later in the night. And to top it all, there's a big bang. That's right, when Pierce Brosnan arrives, fireworks go off. It's going to be huge.
As Pierce Brosnan turns up in his car, the car pulls up, is an announcement as he gets out of his car. We're going to do a chase of pyrotechnics along from this end of the hall to the other end. As they get to the last one at the end, we do a whole 45 going up together in one big hit.
What better way to celebrate 40 years of Bond than to meet some of the stars that have played him over the years?
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best.
What about tonight's premiere? It's a pretty special one, isn't it? Very large.
Well, after 40 years, it has to be, doesn't it?
Are you surprised that the Bond legacy has continued to live on the way that it has?
I was surprised it continued after I started.
No, not at all. Who's your favourite Bond apart from you?
I don't remember another one.
Yeah, it's a great cast list, isn't it?
It's
Not only in the movie, but out here. In any event, this would be, I think, the greatest movie premiere anywhere in the world. And it's even more special tonight because of all the people that are coming and Her Majesty the Queen.
And it's British.
And it's British.
It's excellent.
Well, the money's American.
Well, there we go. We won't go into that.
I wish I'd done one more Bond film. I also am very surprised. It's just one of those phenomenal things in life. We haven't changed.
We haven't. All your Bonds are living on.
That's right. I mean, people haven't changed. It's still like the same thing.
Enjoy yourself tonight.
Thank you.
Tell me, what was your favourite Bond moment of them all?
Well, I think probably in with the Golden Gun, when I pointed the gun down and I said, "Speak now or forever hold your peace."
And he did. Almost.
He certainly did.
What's your favourite Bond film of all time? One that you're not in, you're not allowed to say.
I wouldn't even including mine, I wouldn't count one of mine in. I think that would be kind of arrogant, silly to do that. Almost one that's the least like a Bond movie of all, in a way, and it would be From Russia with Love.
Ah, okay.
Probably my favourite.
Well, enjoy tonight anyway. Thank you very much, Mr. Dalton. Bye-bye. More stars from Bond's 40 years later in the show, but now we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back, though, with baddie Toby Stephens on how to do away with a 00. Halle Berry reveals her sexy secrets. There's Bond girls galore, and John Cleese with his top Bond moments.
You just can't beat that kind of British expertise, can you?
Harry! Hold on!
The Chamber of Secrets has been opened.
And even more magnificent.
Diagonally.
An action-packed magical sequel. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in cinemas now.
अब मैं इस औरत को हवा में उठाने वाला हूँ। ये है मेरा विद्यार्थी। आज लंदन से आया हुआ है।
It's not about where you are. It's about where you want to be.
It's not a question of what you already know.
It's all the fantastic things you've yet to discover.
It's about real choice. What you really want. When you really want it.
The biggest movies, exclusive sport, documentaries and kids' entertainment. Sky, stay in and go somewhere different.
A blend of instruments. A blend of the finest single malts. Bells. It's all in the blend.
Ali G's movie on DVD featuring banging bonus material, wicked new insight from the man himself, and loads more. Ali G in the house on video and DVD.
Carte d'Or triple chocolate. Delicious darkened milk chocolate ice cream in swirls of white chocolate sauce. Carte d'Or from Walls.
Middle-earth stands on the brink of destruction. You will unite or you will fall. Live the movie. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers on PlayStation 2.
EA Games. Challenge everything.
I thought they were for the party.
Hi, Chris.
Abby. Chris, hi. So? Thanks. Come on in. Come on through, guys.
Ferrero Rocher. What you give, you will receive.
Jaguar would like to introduce our new XKR with 4.2 V8 and 6-speed auto and... Oh, hang on, what's that? We didn't put that on there. Whoa! No, those aren't ours either. Oh. And what do those do? Uh-oh, that's not good. Not good at all. We'd suggest that our improvements to the new XKR are quite enough, unless you're planning on taking over the world. XKR. Jaguar XKR. See it in the latest Bond film, Die Another Day.
Join the stars of the biggest movie franchise ever.
He is the coolest man in the world.
For a celebration of the best Bond moments.
My name is Pussy Galore.
As chosen by you.
Would you like it harder?
Best ever Bond. Friday at 9, ITV1.
Welcome back. It takes a very special kind of person to ski off a cliff edge, swim in a shark-infested tank, or coast on a burning oil tanker. Breathtaking stunts and Bond movies go hand in hand, and the 007 producers are forever trying to push the boundaries. Others may imitate, but they rarely outclass.
I think there's so many of those great stunts. You tend to forget about them because the films are so action-packed and they're such an integral part of the movie. It's a unique art, being able to do stunts and still keep them as an integral part of the storyline and everything else.
Bond stunts are legendary, and Die Another Day follows the great tradition of kicking off the movie with a high-octane chase sequence before the main titles. And the vehicle of choice? Hovercraft.
Hovercrafts are amazingly unusual things to work with. You have to totally forget your normal concept of vehicles and wheels and going in straight lines. A hovercraft will take the least line of resistance, so the slightest undulation in the ground, the hovercraft will slide down it, unless you've got a lot of forward momentum. If you have forward momentum, then the turning circle gets bigger, so they're tough things to drive in confined spaces. I always looked at the chase as the stagecoach chase. I had the big hovercraft going along, which was Moon's hovercraft, and the 4-1s going along it with the Indians, if you like, coming alongside the stagecoach. Chris Corbold and his team that built them did an amazing job.
Special effects designer Chris Corbold works closely with Vic to ensure that the stunts, the explosions and the gadgets work hand in hand.
We had to do a sequence where this laser from space, for want of a better word, is sweeping across the demilitarised zone. And we did a series of explosions over probably a quarter of a mile, all coming towards camera. Many explosions with flame and lots of dust going in the air. And the crescendo of watching that coming towards camera was just a wonderful feeling.
If you see the movie, you see Pierce Brosnan right in the thick of it, getting wiped out with huge explosions, big 50 caliber shells hitting trees around him, blowing shrapnel all over him. And Chris is the man we entrust to make those explosions safe for a star of $100 million movie we're dealing with. And for me also to make my life safe, I don't have to worry about that. I say, how close can I get to this particular thing? What can I do with that particular explosion? And Chris will tell you down to millimeters what we can do.
We did want to step out and kind of create what I keep referring to as the great old Lewis Gilbert era of kind of expansive Bond movies of yesteryear, without being old-fashioned about it. We haven't been this kind of big and outrageous for a long time with a Bond movie, so it was fun to kind of go back and do this type of picture and lay a lot of 21st century action on top of what's effectively a good old-fashioned Cold War spy thriller.
The trailer for Die Another Day shows a little of the movie's famous car chase filmed on a frozen lake in Iceland. Chris told us how they beat the cold and stayed afloat.
We all would have liked the ice to be a little bit thicker when we got there. We did actually, in all the cars, put inflation bags so that, if they did go through the ice, they had something to keep them afloat. And whenever we all went on the ice, we were all togged out in immersion suits.
Vic Armstrong has been associated with the Bond movies since 1967. As a stuntman, he was the first ninja to descend from the rim of the volcano in You Only Live Twice. He's doubled for Connery, Lazenby and Harrison Ford in all 3 Indiana Jones movies. He's been the Bond's second unit director since Tomorrow Never Dies and masterminded that famous Thames riverboat chase in The World Is Not Enough. He's perfectly placed to recommend the best 3 Bond stunts ever.
I think GoldenEye was a tremendously impressive stunt. The bungee jump off the dam, that took a huge amount of courage and commitment. It's phenomenal. The barrel roll in the car was wonderful. Rick Sylvester going off the cliff edge, I think, to me, is one of the most memorable everywhere around the world, and the cheer that went up when he went off and that Union Jack parachute opened. It was absolutely fantastic.
Obviously not something you should try at home. Well, they've spent the year dodging explosions, crashing cars and fencing swords, but tonight they've donned their glad rags for a little quiet night at the flicks.
Oscars, although I don't have the nerves in my stomach like that night, but it's as big as, it's as elaborate as, and the fans are just as excited. I'm overwhelmed.
Can we have a look at your dress, because it's amazing? Do us a little turn, and you've got something rather splendid on the back.
I think I have. Someone put it there.
Yeah, what is that? That's beautiful. Tell us where you got it from.
It's a Giorgio Armani dress.
Oh, how lovely.
I saw on the catwalk, and I just thought, I've got to wear that one day.
And you just happen to have the royal premiere for the occasion.
Yeah, so it's fantastic.
Did you enjoy your fencing scenes, Madonna?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, who was tougher in the fencing scenes, Pierce or Madonna?
I think both of them were equally strong.
Are you looking forward to this evening?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. There are a bunch of rules that us Americans have to learn, especially being in front of Her Majesty.
Indeed.
But very excited.
Do you think we Brits can put on as good a premieres here as you can in LA now?
Oh my God, this is the Super Bowl here.
All right, well, enjoy yourself. What's your favourite scene from the film?
The Holly coming out of the water.
That's got to be in a lot of people's top 10.
The classic, yeah. Thank you.
As a Bond girl, you have to be beautiful, but that doesn't mean that you're a bimbo. Halle Berry and Rosamund Pike in the movie play fiercely intelligent, highly trained women. And like Honor Blackman, Barbara Bach and Ursula Andress before them, they're as fast with their tongues as they are with their high kicks.
Mojito?
I think we need to learn as women that it's okay to be sexy and be in control of our sexuality and use it to our advantage. And also, balance that out with being intellectually sound.
I've got 2 words for you. Cinnamon buns.
I know. That's what I should have been. Sam Jackson said I should have been cinnamon buns.
That would have been fantastic. so was that what everyone was calling you on set?
Sometimes on the set, they would call me, just to, placate me, they call me cinnamon buns.
In a lot of Bond movies, you know, a lot of the women were kind of forgettable because they weren't very good actors. They were just, you know, appendages to Bond, and it's just very beautiful but kind of fairly empty. And what I wanted was a smashingly beautiful actress, and someone to go head-to-head with both Pierce as Bond and to go as a character head-to-head with Bond. And to me, I thought, you know, well, let's go for Halle.
Rosamund Pike makes her feature film debut in Die Another Day as the cool and beautiful Miranda Frost. At first, they want us to think she's a baddie working with Graves, but it soon turns out that she's batting for the same team as Bond.
In your 3 years in cryptology, you've managed to keep business and pleasure separate. You haven't fraternized with any of your fellow agents, despite several advances.
I think it would be foolish to get involved with someone within the community, especially James Bond.
What was the experience to walk on set for the first time? You know, the biggest Bond movie probably of all time right now as well.
When you get onto those big sets, it's like going to work in a big theme park or something. I mean, I think even what appears on screen, which is fantastic, is just not as awesome as it was to be there. You know, the first day was that scene with Judi Dench, which was, everyone said, oh, that'll be a nice way to start. I thought, want to reckon? Yeah.
We wanted to know if Judi Dench considers herself a Bond girl.
It's my husband and daughter's reaction, which was exciting, which is, they said, go for it, be a Bond woman. Can't say Bond girl anymore, Bond woman. And they were very excited about it, and so was I excited, but you know, I was apprehensive for a minute. But they said, no, do it. What is wonderful is being sent on a part totally different, like the head of MI6. As opposed to, Queen Victoria or one of those other queens I played.
You'll do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Just like you.
The difference is I won't compromise.
Well, I don't have the luxury of seeing things as black and white. While you were away, the world changed.
Not for me.
Die Another Day shows that Bond can have a girl and the baddie can have a girl. Doesn't that leave somebody out?
I've often thought that the weakness of the Bond movies is it's all Bond girls and not Q girls. And I feel that there should be half a dozen Q girls, certainly the next one. And I think some of them should be under 60.
No matter how explosive the situation, Bond girls are always dressed to kill. Oscar winner Lindy Hemming has worked on the past 4 Bond movies, and as keen as she is to create cutting-edge looks for the 21st century, she's just as keen to pay homage to Bond's glorious past.
Sean Connery, in fact, wore the most wonderful classic-looking suits, and they do hold up. He doesn't really look 60s, he looks just elegant in it.
Not mad about his tailor, are you?
And then they changed a little bit when I don't know about George Lazenby, but when they changed to Roger Moore, they did decide to go into a more fashionable area. And I think that even though he looks fantastic for the time that he was making them, then when you look at them, they do look like a bit of period costume reference in a way. With Timothy Dalton, they did a different thing then. They tried to make him look really quite street. And, you know, television was very big then, and I think that there was a lot of influence of him looking quite kind of, you know, down on the street and tough guy. And I think that they went away, a little bit away from the sophisticated elegance, you know, the joke of sort of straightening your tie when something terrible's happened, or, you know, I don't know, shooting your cuffs. That kind of went. And I think I wanted to bring that back. But that does derive from Sean Connery in the beginning, you know.
Lindy has updated the famous 007 look with suits supplied by the Italian fashion house Brioni.
I wanted him to have tailored suits, really beautifully tailored suits, but I wanted them to have a classic modern look. Because if there was a man like that, if there is a man like that, he wouldn't be dressed in a hacking jacket, you know what I mean? He would be dressed in a suit which would carry him effortlessly through all kinds of political and other events where no one would notice him except to think how extremely elegant he looked.
Vodka martini, and your ice, if you can spare it.
With Pierce, who I've known now for 8 or more years, it's different. We're comfortable and relaxed, and you know, he has a lot of input, but he's much more confident in what you're going to do for him.
When he sticks on these Brioni suits, and these other cool clothes that are really designed for him. I think it even affects him, Pierce Brosnan, the man, rather than the character of James Bond, because I've seen him walk across the studio and dressed in these clothes, and he just changes completely. It's just quite a shock, really. And even I go, wow, look at that, you know, and you just see James Bond in front of you.
One of the joys of doing the film is that you always get to do these glamorous dresses. I mean, you can think of Jane Seymour as Solitaire in her fantastic red evening dress. And, you know, you take Sophie Marceau, did her fantastic red evening dress. There's always these nods, and I think Barbara Bach had a fantastic blue dress. And you always try and make sure that what you're doing is fashionable, but not too fashionable, I think. Glamour more than fashion, probably. Because it was the 20th Bond and the 40th year, I think we were all looking at the script and thinking, you know, what could we do? What would we make little nods at the past and, you know, take ideas from the past. There was talk of this character, Jinx, to be played by Halle, coming out of the water somewhere, you know, Cuba, hot, warm. And of course, immediately it springs to mind that, you know, you must do an homage to Ursula Andress.
Magnificent view.
This is a drawing which was done to show to Halle Berry. I wanted to do it, make it modern, a very modern thing, and I often work with La Perla, who is a famous underwear company. This is the original costume from the archive, and one day I'm sure it'll be selling in Sotheby's for millions. This is Rosamund Pike's dress for the Ice Palace sequence. All these crystals are from Swarovski, and I think a lot of the chandeliers on the set as well in the Ice Palace are from Swarovski. It moves beautifully and is in a very good contrast to Halle, who's wearing a really, really vivid pinky, purpley pink dress, also with diamonds, which is by Versace. This is the costume for Zhao, and this costume consists of a very heavy, rubbery, leathery outdoor cape with a great big hood that he wears to disguise what's happened to his face. I call it my post-Matrix look. He looks sort of evil and rather frightening and a bit Bond villainish.
Hard-wearing rubber designs like this are ideal for icy and wet weather or chilly air-conditioned sound stages. But the finest tailoring in the world is no match for the rigours of a film set.
In Die Another Day, we had the most terrible problem with Pierce because I gave him a linen suit, which, for whatever reasons we'll never know, began to shrink the minute any water got near it. His arms shrunk, his legs shrunk, and he was going, "Oh my God, woman, what have you done to me?" You know, the incredible shrinking man.
Time for another break, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes with baddie Toby Stephens on How to Kill a Spy, John Cleese with his top Bond moments, plus all those Bond gadgets, past and present. See you then.
Is your car a bus? Is it big and red? Are you providing an essential public service? No, didn't think so.
With American Express membership rewards points, you can turn everyday purchases into the adventure you've always dreamt of.
Christmas always takes its toll on the old waistline. But it needn't be hard on your hands as well.
The #1 long-lasting lipstick, Lipfinity. We can guarantee Lipfinity will last longer than any other lipstick or your money back. Lipfinity from Max Factor, guaranteed.
You look. You stare. You hold your breath. Your pulse races. Is it the clarity? Is it the performance? Is it the sleek design? Flat panel television by Samsung. It's digital temptation, and everyone's invited.
Welcome back. Cast your mind back 40 years and you might remember the trick-shot circus star who became the world's #1 assassin. Or what about the billionaire smuggler with a passion for golf and gold? Or the anarchist with a bullet lodged perilously close to his brain? I am, of course, talking about Bond villains, and Die Another Day has some of the youngest and the baddest.
What a wonderful day to become a knight. The villain is the catalyst for the whole thing. Without somebody nasty to overcome, 007 doesn't really have a function. And I think the fact that I'm younger, I was cast younger than peers, I think that's a good dynamic to start from, just to mix up the form a bit.
Younger still is Rick Yoon, who plays Graves' henchman Zhao. His face is embedded with diamonds thanks to Bond's explosive antics.
I think the hard part is what Paul England, the makeup artist, is doing every morning, where he has to really, go into detail with every aspect of the makeup every day and remember exactly what he did the day before. No, I mean, you just kind of zone out.
Got your attention.
He's a tough lad. I mean, he's really well built, that lad. I mean, we came to do the first fight sequence and he hit me. I said, you can't hit me. I'm not going to get through the movie. We're supposed to miss each other.
Sometimes in Bond films there's that moment where someone's going to die and you grab whatever is to hand to kill them.
Yeah.
So let's suppose that there was only a rubber duck to hand to kill your opponent. How would you do it?
How would I do it? Do I have to grab it from you and then
don't,
threaten you?
Or you can just expect. Yeah, go on, grab it and threaten me with a rubber duck.
Die, Mr. Bond.
When one plays a Bond baddie, one gets to deliver some of the finest lines in the film.
I shall look forward personally to exterminating you, Mr. Bond.
Who's the favorite Bond villain? Well, my favorite Bond film is Goldfinger.
Do you expect me to talk?
Gert Frober and his Goldfinger is a classic villain.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
You don't understand, Mr. Bond. You're going to die. That was my favourite line in all the Bond movies, and I probably quoted it wrongly, but...
Now, as a Bond baddie, there are certain things that you just have to be able to do. So, the evil stare.
The evil stare.
The I don't care grimace, but I really do, Mr. Bond.
That sort of thing?
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then the mad, evil laughter. Definitely got that one. Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
You are to assume full control of operation from now on. 7 minutes to interception.
I'm still alive. What more can an actor want?
That's pretty good. What's your favourite Bond movie of all time, and who's your favourite Bond?
Well, like all egotistical actors, I have to say my favorite Bond was the one I was in.
So, Mr. Connery?
That was with Sean.
Tell me about technology, Mr. Cleese. You don't really like it, do you?
No, I don't like it. It doesn't like me. Must you touch everything?
Does this still work?
I used to be able to record television programs, and that finished about 15 years ago. This is because all technology now is made by engineers who are trying to impress other engineers. Voila! Ultra-high frequency single-digit sonic agitator unit.
You know, you're cleverer than you look.
Still better than looking cleverer than you are.
This doesn't bode well because now you've been promoted. You're not R, you're now Q.
But acting is all about faking. Desmond Llewellyn was hopeless with gadgets. Pierce says he's hopeless with gadgets. We're all hopeless with
So
gadgets.
I might be in with a chance.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But we're faking it. We're very good at faking it.
Well, should we have a
For
look?
example, did you realise I was only 5'6"?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, that's just
It's
you
the
can fake anything.
amazing illusion there. Should we have a look at some gadgets and widgets and things?
Yes, all right.
Yeah, go on then. In there.
Bond.
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 Bond. Bond.
James Bond. What do we know about him? Well, he's a Philadelphian ornithologist, author of that influential reference guide, Birds of the West Indies. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm not classified to talk about him. So, James Bond, the other one, 007, that one. He works hard. He plays hard, too.
You missed, Mr. Bond. Did I?
Well, I'm playing strict rules, so I'm afraid you lose the whole and the match.
Bond is wildly in love with sleek and stylish cars.
I know what you're doing.
Really? What's that, dear?
You are just trying to show off the size of your
Engine?
ego.
Especially if they're equipped with state-of-the-art technology. And if they allow him to show off his party trick. He can do that in oil tankers too, you know. When one thinks of 007, one thinks of sharp-suited elegance. Though he keeps an outfit for every occasion.
I'm a British agent. What? For God's sake, tell him who I am.
He's a man who's never lost for words.
Shocking.
I have to get it back, or somebody's gonna have my ass.
First things first.
To us, Mr. Bond, we are the best. There's a useful four-letter word, and you're full of it.
James Bond likes a drink, but never to excess.
Would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What is
Shaken, not stirred.
Oh, that's stirred, not shaken. That was right, wasn't it?
Perfect.
You'll never find him under the table, except in the line of duty.
Is anything the matter?
Just a slight stiffness coming on.
You shot your boat, Stromberg. Now it's my turn.
He's definitely got an eye for the ladies.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course you are.
My name is Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming.
Plenty O'Toole.
Named after your father, perhaps?
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
He always shows respect to figures of authority.
Balls, Q.
But he is merciless when dealing with the world's megalomaniacs.
For England, James? No.
With 40 years of hard-earned experience, James Bond is an expert at everything. He rides motorbikes, he rides nuclear missiles, he jetpacks, he skydives, he bobsleighs, he bungee jumps, he slides down mountains, skis down mountains, skis off mountains, and he can fly out of a horse's rear. You just can't beat that kind of British expertise, can you?
No, you certainly can't, John. Now, as we've already said, there are 700 stars and VIPs attending tonight, including the Queen and Prince Philip. Now, some would say that Lizzie is the star, but others might argue that the real Queen Bee of tonight is Pierce Brosnan. What a tremendous evening. You must be enjoying yourselves, and it's pretty phenomenal.
This is an outstanding evening. This is one for the history books, I must say. Yeah, it's utterly brilliant.
And Keely, all the Bonds are here, all the Bond ladies are here as well, so pretty phenomenal.
It's an amazing turnout. It's pretty impressive when you see Halle Berry, Madonna, the Queen. It's a big, big lineup.
We've been asking everyone, Pierce, about their favourite Bond movie of all time. You're not allowed to include your own Bond films, but is there another favourite for you?
Goldfinger. Goldfinger has very sentimental value for me. It's the first movie I saw. I was a boy of 11 years of age. I'd just come over from Ireland. It was 1964. And I saw this great spectacle up on the screen. I didn't want to be James Bond, but it certainly kind of sowed a seed for wanting to be up on the screen, so to speak. It had a certain magic quality.
Bond wouldn't be Bond without the gadgets, the deadly wristwatches, the lasers, the missiles, the remote-control cars. Now, in the films, Bond owes a huge debt to the efforts of Q, but in reality, it's a little bit different.
Now, pay attention, please.
On the Bond set, it's not Q, but Chris Corbould and his team of special effects designers who are responsible for those fabulous gadgets.
Coming up with gadgets is getting harder and harder and harder because technology is advancing so fast that, you know, bearing in mind that when we film it, the film might not be released for a year, and in that time you might well find it on the market before we've even shown it on the screen. It's a tricky old affair, gadget making.
A lot of the gadgets have endured very well through the Bond period. I think about half of the Bond films have a wristwatch gadget, for instance. So it starts with these fantastic Rolexes with hyper-intensified magnetic fields, lasers, circular saws, all that sort of thing. I can only see is going to continue.
Now, new watch. This will be your 20th, I believe.
How time flies.
I think some of the gadgets are very much executive toys. Some of the other ones, though, are very real and reflect very much what the world of espionage is all about, which is, you know, concealment and hidden weapons and miniaturisation. We've got somebody like Rosa Klebb's flick knife shoes. Might well have been used in the world of espionage. The car behind me is the new Aston Martin, the Vanquish, and I think what's special about it is it's a very neat counterpoint to the early Bond cars, which was an Aston Martin DB5, and that set the whole future for cars and Bond. And now we've kind of come full circle.
I don't think we've ever fitted as many gadgets in cars or any other vehicle ever before. And not only did we fit them in one car, we had the baddies car with them as well. It was quite unique actually, the whole cat and mouse sequence between the two cars. I like the jokey gadgets, to be perfectly honest. I mean, the ones I really like were like the sofa that swallowed him up and the telephone box that blew up with a guy trapped inside it.
Don't touch that! It's my lunch.
This is one of the most memorable Bond gadgets. It's from Octopussy. It's the 12-foot-long Acrostar mini jet. It's a fantastic device, memorable scene. Roger Moore in it. Flies out the back of a horse's rear, flies through an aircraft hangar and out the other side, enticing a missile in after him. You imagine that the device is pretty far-fetched. In fact, this is a real gadget, and he really did fly through the hangar.
And there's no other film where you get such a variety of things to make, places to go, you know, the locations, the different vehicles, different gadgets. It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's a boy's dream.
Time for one last break, but we'll be back with London's biggest Bond premiere of the last 40 years in a couple of minutes, when we'll be talking to Bond's musical maestro. There's the royal seal of approval and more of the world's most beautiful people.
Morning, folks. It's
London's Heart 106.2.
And you're listening to Jono and Emma at breakfast.
Next up, it's the battle of the sexes.
Come on, the girls! He's the greatest dancer.
You're listening to London's Heart 106.2.
Enjoy the ride. Astra from Vauxhall.
I know who did it. White, male, 25 to 35. He films them, fueling his fantasy. Right-handed, considerable upper body strength. He's confused about his sexuality. These crimes are his greatest work. He's working on his next victim now, and this one will be really special.
Wire in the Blood, Thursday at 9, ITV1.
Welcome back. The VIPs are in the building. The film's going to start in about 10 minutes. And as usual, Her Majesty's timing is impeccable. Right now, the cast and crew of Die Another Day are waiting to meet Her Majesty the Queen. And this is the first Bond premiere that she's been to since 1967. So I wonder who's more nervous.
That night, Sean Connery had positively shocking news for Her Majesty, confiding in her that it would be his last Bond film. Little did she know he'd return for 2 more 007 adventures. Never say never again, Sean. When Goldfinger premiered in 1964, Honor Blackman made front-page news with her solid gold finger. But the sheer weight of fans desperate to catch a glimpse of it shattered the 12-foot-high glass door of Leicester Square's Odeon Cinema. At the launch of On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969, George Lazenby sported a very un-Bond-like beard. It was attended by the Duke and Duchess of Kent. No doubt George and co-star Diana Rigg would much rather have met Her Majesty the Queen.
Sorry, ma'am.
Princess Alexandra and John and Angelica Houston graced the premiere of Casino Royale, but we're not supposed to talk about that James Bond film. Lucky Princess Anne was the recipient of free tickets to see Live and Let Die in 1973, and she got to meet Roger Moore and the voluptuous Jane Seymour. But Princess Diana proved to be the ultimate Bond girl in the 80s when she and Prince Charles attended the rest of Roger's premieres, and she giggled at all of Roger's dirty jokes. As the decade wore on, she knocked the living daylights out of Timothy Dalton in a glittering gown studded with sequins. During the 90s, Pierce Brosnan's irresistible appeal has ensured that Bond premieres attract only the finest stars.
So many stars turned up tonight, and I caught up with a few of them. You look fabulous tonight. Love your outfit. Very Macy Gray.
Thank you, thank you.
Can you give us a little burst of Goldfinger?
No.
Oh.
Cost you a fortune.
Okay.
What's your... I sang so much last night at the tribute to Bond that...
voice all gone.
Yes,
We love Roger. Roger is a prince of a guy. And, well, there's nothing bad to say about him, I have to say, other than the fact that he is a real joker, and sometimes he really went too far with all of us.
It's a bit of an unfair question to ask, but was he your favourite Bond, or is there another one now?
Well, he's my favorite one, of course, because I worked with him twice and I adore the man. And but of course, I think that all the James Bonds have been really quite extraordinary. I think Pierce is doing a great job.
I think we're all kind of open-mouthed about it. None of us can believe what an amazing phenomenon it is all over the world. Once you've been in a Bond, everybody, it's incredible. The fans are just crazy about it.
Halle Berry is incredibly special, so she's going to be a good match for Ursula Andress, I think.
One to watch.
Oh, definitely. She's very special.
Who's your favourite Bond man of all time?
Pierce.
Pierce.
No question. He's sensational, don't you think?
My favourite Bond girl is Ursula Andress, so, you know, I think we're all fans of each other.
Have you seen Hallie yet in her role?
Hallie is just something else.
Her Majesty is going to meet the cast of the film, and I believe that first in the lineup is Verity. That is Madonna to you and I, and she performs the title track for Die Another Day, and also plays a bit of a villain in the film, and she's curtsying, being very polite. Let's hope she stays a well-behaved lady this evening. John Cleese there, who of course plays Q. He was once introduced to the Queen Mum as John Grease, so I won't make that mistake. And Rick Yoon, he plays Zhao, a baddie in the film, and I know that he'll be overwhelmed by this moment. He thinks the whole event this evening is quite spectacular. He's never been to anything quite like it. That's Rosamund Pike, who makes her feature film debut in Die Another Day. She plays the chilly, icy Miranda Frost, who works with Gustav Graves. That's Toby Stevens, who's just been introduced. The baddie. Dana Broccoli there, who is the wife of the late Cubby Broccoli, the famous 007 producer who's kept the Bond legacy alive for all these years. And that's Barbara Broccoli, their daughter, and a producer as well of the Bond movies and Die Another Day. Lee Tamahori there, the director. He certainly relished the task and enjoyed every moment, I think. Big budget. That's Halle Berry, of course, who plays Jinx, and the man himself, Pierce Brosnan. He needs no introduction, but he's James Bond. The Queen is in the building, and when she's sitting comfortably, the film will begin. One of the first things to pop up will be the opening credits. Now, over the past 40 years, the world's top musical brass have been attracted to sing the title track, but every Bond film starts with that famous Monty Norman tune.
It starts with the gun barrel sequence, which is always amazing, and I think, regardless of the film, it's the best part of the movie. You know, when those little dots come across the screen, you think, this could be the best Bond movie ever made. You know, it's about to happen to me. I think as soon as the theme starts, you know where you are. You're in a Bond movie. You know, it's not James Bond in an action movie, it's a Bond movie.
David Arnold has composed the soundtracks of the last 3 Bond films. He's always been a fan of the series, especially that all-important title sequence and theme song. Of course, he's got his favourites.
You Only Live Twice was probably one of my favourites because it was the first one I'd ever seen. I think I was 7 or 8 years old, and I watched it at the Luton British Legion Children's Christmas Party. James Bond, you know, which in that case at the time was Sean Connery, you know, in bed, post-coitally, being murdered by machine guns, and then, you know, you have this amazing song, You Only Live Twice, with Nancy Sinatra, and then you cut back and you have the Space March music that John wrote for the space shuttle being eaten by the other big spaceship, which goes down to a hollowed out volcano, you know, and I'm thinking, like, I'm 8 years old, and I'm going like, okay, you know, I'm a fan.
We have all the time in the world.
And the other song is All the Time in the World. We have All the Time in the World with Louis Armstrong. It's an incredibly poignant, beautiful, wonderful piece of music, perfectly delivered and recorded and arranged and produced, you know, a little piece of perfection.
David Arnold brings a lifetime love of Bond to his 007 scores and 9 years' experience composing for feature films. But he told me he's still learning important lessons.
The Cuban sequence comes at a point in the film where we've had quite a heavy opening, you know, 20 minutes of the movie with Bond being captured and possibly executed and tortured. We get to Cuba and you just think, oh, it's such a relief. It's sunlight and bright and, you know, kind of cheerful, and everyone's drinking and smoking, and there's street bands. And so we did all this research, you know, I thought we were being very clever about, you know, well, we won't do all this kind of Holiday 2002 Cuba. You know, we'll do proper Cuba. But you do proper Cuba and it doesn't sound like Cuba, you know. I mean, what people recognise on a global scale is dun da da dun 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 da da da. And I figure that, you know, I learnt a big lesson then, I think, about you can't really not be that obvious enough in a Bond film. So I put a small Cuban band together, and I got the guys in the cafe here to make us a couple of bucketfuls of tequila, and we had a few of those and we recorded all night. So a good time was had by all.
David was then faced with scoring the dramatic scene in which Graves first reveals the Icarus satellite. His inspiration came from a highly unusual source.
This thing, you know, opening up in space has to be so kind of awe-inspiring and so dramatic and so huge that, you know, we figured very late in the day that choir would be the only thing that would do it. So I wanted them to be chanting something before, as it starts to open, you know, just a low kind of, oh, sha, before it opens, and then it's going to go, ah, it's got to be, you know, enormous when the light hits it. They didn't want to do it in Latin because it's a bit odd. We thought about getting some stuff in Korea, which was a bit queer. So what the choir are actually saying is look at the size of that umbrella, but backwards. So I thought that's what it looked like.
Well, as your Bond premiere draws to a close, the night is just beginning for everyone here. When the film ends, the stars, the cast and the crew will be partying into the wee small hours across the road at Hyde Park. I've got a film to watch, so I'm going to leave you with Madonna and the video for Die Another Day. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Bye-bye. Generally, giving it a 10 out of 10?
10. 11.
Excuse me, sir, can we get a quick opinion? What do we think of this latest Bond
Well,
out?
it's the best Bond ever.
Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Now that you've seen the film, what do you think
fabulous.
of it?
It's fabulous. So I'm exhausted. It's so exciting.
Can I ask you a quick opinion of the film? What did you think?
Blinded. It's wonderful.
The action was so fantastic, but loud. The music was loud.
Pretty good Bond girls,
Oh,
though.
my God. Oh, yeah.
Opinion at the end of the film, what did we think?
Great.
Great.
I can't hear a thing now. What did you say?
Action scenes. Kicking, high kicking,
very
good.
Noisy, or they kick higher than I can.
Saturday is Popstars Party Night with the final after Blind Date.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's the boy! 4 down, but 1 more must go.
the tension here is incredible.
Prepare yourself for a nail-biting battle for the band.
Amazing.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Who goes and who stays, it's all down to you.
The band will be revealed live in the results after Millionaire, and with the Osmonds reuniting for the first time in 22 years, get ready to party this Saturday, ITV1.